Many people have problems with attention and concentration after a brain injury. They have trouble focusing on what's important at the time, or keeping their attention on salient issues as compared to distracting events that may be going around them. They may only be able to focus their attention for a brief period of time. If you don't understand this is a problem, you may see the person as being disrespectful, not caring, or not involved in the situation. Yelling or increasing your physical presence in the situation rarely has a positive effect. It just causes more emotion, frustration, and more problems with attention. Instead, you can do several things. You can make sure that you have the person's attention before you start talking to them. You can try to establish eye contact. You can call their name and make sure they respond before you go any further. Understand that some people are only going to be able to concentrate for a brief period of time, no matter what you do. As a result, keep your contacts or requests short. Let a person finish a task before going on to the next task. You can also take breaks. If you have to spend a long time with somebody and they lose their concentration after a few minutes of time, you're not going to make any progress. If instead you do brief sessions over a period of time, you're going to be more successful. Many people face problems with memory, and there are many different types of memory that can cause confusion for people working with individuals with brain injury. A lot of times, long-term memory, the things that occurred in our past, are still intact, and people can remember things that occurred years ago. It's the problems with immediate memory that become a problem, where people can't remember new information. This is a reason why many people have trouble in school or learning new skills on the job. They're not able to store new information, but they're able to retrieve the old information they have from before. Again, the best thing to do is to keep things simple and keep things short. Many correction officers will talk about people who are disrespectful and non-compliant because they told the resident to do something and the resident didn't follow through. In fact, what they may have done is given the resident a multi-step command where they only remembered the first or second step and then forgot the rest. The person may be trying their hardest to please you and do what they were told, but it just fell out of their head. So as a result, when people have memory problems, it helps to give one or two requests at a time and follow through before going on to other steps of a task. Speed of information processing and delayed responding are also a problem. After a brain injury, some people think very clearly, but they think more slowly. So when they're asked a question, it may take several seconds for them to respond, or some period of time which seems uncustomarily long. Sometimes this may feel like the person is being manipulative or trying to give you the answer that they think you want rather than the answer that they have or relates to them. When in fact, in many cases, the person is still formulating the answer. Instead, give people a chance to respond before going on to the next part of the conversation. Comprehension understanding is a bushel basket of challenges. Each of us have many different ways of knowing and understanding the world around us. Most of us have different ways that we learn. Some of us are better at reading information, some of seeing events, or some of hearing things. After a brain injury, people may have even more problems. And it's not unusual for a person to be able to comprehend in one way or not another. Sometimes people can't follow through on what we call auditory comprehension. You can tell them something, and they may nod their head yes that they understand, but they really don't understand it. Whereas if you give them the same information in written instructions or even in pictures, they'll be very successful. This comes to the different types of communication problems that people have. Simply stated, some people may have expressive communication problems. They know what they want to say, but it comes out wrong, or they're not able to articulate their intents. Other people may have receptive communication problems. They may actually hear the words, but they may not understand what they mean. A lot of times people are very embarrassed by this, so they'll nod their head or act in other ways as if they know what's going on when they don't. They're ashamed. Many times a person feels that it means that they are less intelligent or less capable in a situation. If you know this, you can find the ways that people do understand things and present the information to them that way. Sometimes, after you explain something to somebody, you can ask them what they just heard in a non-demeaning way to make sure that they got the information. This ultimately will improve their success in your relationship with the individual. Impulse control and frustration management are key, and a lot of times one of the reasons why people end up in corrections. Events overcome them, and they react, oftentimes angrily or dangerously, which results in their incarceration. Having problems with impulse control or frustration management is not an excuse for behavior, but if you know a person has problems in these areas, you can help them by keeping calm, by modeling ways of dealing with difficult situations, and trying to keep the focus on a specific situation, which, though it may be difficult to deal with, they can focus on better and hold their emotions rather than being distracted by other types of situations. A lot of times people are concrete and rigid in their thinking and reasoning. They will have what we call thinking errors. For example, one thinking error is yes-no thinking, or black and white reasoning, in which you're either with a person or against a person. You can help them by giving them alternatives. Other times people may catastrophize the situation or think in other ways that don't promote success. Again, modeling options for them, giving them different suggestions and ways of testing out different thought patterns can be helpful. This can also tie into their difficulties with problem solving. If you can't think clearly, and if you can't be adaptive in your thinking, you have trouble solving problems. Working with people, sometimes even giving them alternatives to a problem situation, can help them be successful. And finally, self-monitoring can be a major issue. A lot of times people just are not aware that their behavior is causing problems for themselves or others. Agnosia, yeah, that's a big word, actually means that a person doesn't understand that they don't understand. People may not realize the effects they have on others, how they responded to a situation, or what they can do about it. This is not the same as someone being delusional. It's just that people don't get it. We see this a lot in teenagers because parts of their brain called the frontal lobe are not fully developed, and that helps us reflect on how our behavior affects others. Again, by providing people with concrete examples and teaching them strategies to be successful so they don't feel like a fool because you tell them they did something wrong that they do not see, will be successful. There are many other areas of the brain that are affected and many other types of challenges that will cause behavioral disruption, and these are just a few. It's important to understand that brain injury can play a very significant part in how a person thinks, reacts, responds, and goes through life. However, it is never the only situation. Understanding brain injury is not an excuse, especially if a person engages in very dangerous behaviors that place them or others at a threat to community. However, if you understand some of the ways that people are thinking and reasoning, what works, what doesn't, and how to circumvent those problems, not only for success as you work with the resident, but to help this person be a successful citizen after leaving your facility, you're helping everybody. Thank you.